Milk and dairy products are nutritious and provide a quick and easy way of supplying these nutrients to the diet with a small caloric intake. One glass of milk alone can make a contribution to the daily recommended consumption of many important nutrients for all age groups.
More and more, we're seeing that consumers are defining healthy foods in terms of what those foods do not contain. So they're looking for foods that help them limit their consumption of sugars, especially added sugars, carbs, additives, preservatives. And to that end, there's been a big surge in consumer interest in natural foods, which dairy is really able to help address. Most dairy products have very limited ingredients and can really help consumers avoid those ingredients that they're not looking to consume. Dairy products provide a lot of great nutrients. Of course, there's the calcium, but there's also vitamin D, potassium, and protein. And though the nutritional composition of a dairy product depends on the product and the type, the average serving of cheese, for example, has 10 grams of protein. And we know that consumers are very interested in protein right now, with more than 2/3 actively seeking foods to help them increase their protein intake.
Consumption of dairy has been associated with numerous health benefits, helping to reduce obesity, blood pressure, cardiovascular disease, and more.
After years of believing that fat is bad for us, recent research has proven that that might not be the case. Both re-examinations of old data and new research studies with new data show that fat isn't the enemy we thought it was, and consumers are reacting to that data by returning to whole-fat dairy products.
Today, an increasing number of consumers are evaluating what is in their food. As a result, labeling claims and adhering to FDA guidelines has become critical.
Consumers are looking for foods that do more than just taste good. Of course, they want great tasting foods, but they're also looking for foods that provide nutrition for their bodies. So they're looking for things like protein, like probiotics, like vitamins, and a lot of dairy products can help them meet that need. Currently, we're seeing a trend among consumers that's referred to as the clean label trend, which really just means that they're looking for foods that have very limited ingredients, simple ingredients, and ingredients that they recognize. So dairy products are really addressing this consumer need.
The modern consumer really deserves transparency, and I think those of us remaining in agriculture have a professional obligation to give it to the consumer. And so what we do is we welcome people onto our farms and we show them how we do things. If you think back to maybe your grandfather's generation or your great-grandfather's generation, there were hundreds of thousands of farmers out there and almost all of us knew one. Now there's very few of us left. And if you go back in time, there was 2 billion people in the world, and today there's 7 billion people, and we're expanding. So there's very few farmers left and so many more consumers. And so we have to do more to communicate, to open our doors, to educate, and to understand each other, as well as understand the consumer, but certainly so the consumer can understand us also.
With over 100 years of expertise in innovation, Grassland Dairy Products, located in Greenwood, Wisconsin, continues churning cream into delicious butter.
Grassland Dairy Products started in 1904 by my great-grandfather, John S. Wietrich. He emigrated from the Switzerland Alps to Wisconsin to be a cheesemaker in Wisconsin and found his way in central Wisconsin to butter and cheese here in Clark County.
Grassland Dairy applies product research and development and continuous technological improvements to maintain its reputation as a quality dairy products manufacturer.
Butter, being a cream and salt ingredient, is still produced today like it was in 1904. The innovation of butter is how we get it to the customers in a safe and efficient manner. Grassland Dairy prides itself on quality and service. Those are the two main aspects. To get the value of the butter, we need to provide excellent quality and service.
Quality butter starts with a high-quality milk supply. Grassland Dairy receives farm-fresh milk from local family dairy producers and cream from high-quality milk producers.
I was a young man. The first farm I ever worked on was my neighbor's, and he had 13 cows. And we'd milk the cow and carry the bucket the length of the barn and dump it into a bulk tank. And maybe by midday that day, that milk would be chilled down to a storable temperature of, say, 36 degrees. Today, a cow gets milked, and literally 30 to 60 seconds later, the milk is chilled down. It is moved into a tanker and hauled off to market. Much healthier, much better product going to the consumer right from the farm. So there's a lot of technological advances and a lot of management practices that have taken place on a modern dairy farm.
Grassland's butter production is where tradition meets innovation.
Using the Wheatrick family recipe to create its butter products, Grassland produces 3 times more butter than it did 15 years ago, using less energy, water, and fewer emissions.
In the past, we would cool our cream by running cold water over the jacketed tanks. And today, with technology, we can cool a tank with little to no water. And our water usage is down tenfold to what it was 20 years ago. We've invested in utilities that provide efficiencies in our plant.
By continuously evolving and expanding operations, the company stays on the cusp of dairy processing trends.
As consumers want more transparency in their food, we're looking at giving them that with BST-free butter, GMO-frees, and even farm-to-table aspects, whether it's the farm program for herd management, and just giving consumers more transparency from that farm to table.